You know, sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater, fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple and they add up and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small mindful actions, you know, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that could be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet with climate change and these really big issues and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody could look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. You know, and like our community said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
Hey, what do you say, everybody? It is Thursday, February 26th. So good to see you today. And thank you for joining us here, The Bill Press Show. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, a very snowy nation's capital this Thursday morning. Government offices, in fact, are opening 2 hours late to allow people to deal with the snow on their morning commute. And we're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKRTV. Good to have you with us. President Obama jetting down to Miami yesterday on Air Force One to appear on a big town hall on Univision and MSNBC, where he once again challenged Congress to do the right thing and fund the Department of Homeland Security with no strings attached. Meanwhile, it looks like we could be edging toward a compromise, at least in the Senate, where Republican leader Mitch McConnell has proposed scrapping the bill that would defund the Department of Homeland Security with two bills, one to fund the department and the other to repeal the president's orders, executive orders on immigration, which, of course, the president would veto. Republicans in the Senate say that's good with them. Democrats in the Senate say that's good with them. Democrats in the House are on board. The problem is House Republicans still look like they want to shut down the department. It's up to John Boehner, but time is running out. And here in the District of Columbia, an historic day at 12:01 a.m. this morning, pot officially became legal. The recreational use of marijuana officially legal now in the District of Columbia. But some Republicans in the House are so angry about this, they say that Mayor Muriel Bowser should be arrested the first time somebody lights up a joint here in the District of Columbia. How silly can they get? That's it for today. We want to hear from you at 866-55-PRESS. All of that and more coming up here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am
I am
tired,
tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Only 48 hours to go now, and still no agreement on funding the Department of Homeland Security. Hello, everybody. Here we go. Another shutdown fight to the wire here in Washington, D.C. We're getting used to these. It is the Bill Press Show on Thursday, February 26th. Good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. And it's nice to be back with you. Thanks to Peter Ogburn for filling in yesterday. We are here in Washington, D.C., where it is snowing this morning. You know, everybody else is experiencing this horrible weather, very, very cold temperatures across the Midwest, down through the South and up to the Northeast. So Washington is getting its share of it as well. We've had the cold weather, not so much snow, and we're not going to get a lot today, but it's snowing enough that government offices are on a 2-hour delay today, right? Of course, one flake of snow is enough to shut down the federal government for 2 hours at least, right? So
it had barely started snowing.
That's not unusual.
When
either.
they made that announcement.
Barely started snowing when they made that announcement, indeed. Great to see you today. Thank you for being part of the program. We are so excited to be with you for the next 3 hours to tell you what's going on around the country, around the globe, here in Washington, D.C., and, of course, to hear from you as to what it all means and what you think about it. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. That's your ticket to join the conversation at any time, and you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Entire team here today, snow or no snow, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Bill, welcome back.
Yeah, good to have you back.
Thank you. With Alicia Cruz on the phones. 866-55-PRESS. Remember, your chance to talk to Alicia and Cyprian Bolding. There, as always, keeping us looking good on the video cam on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. Yeah, back from a little jaunt down to Greenville, South Carolina. First time I've been in Greenville.
Greenville.
Yeah, nice town. Very pretty town. Furman University, a beautiful campus and a great school. The oldest private school in South Carolina. Alma mater to that great outdoorsman and historian of the Appalachian Trail, Mark Sanford.
Great.
Graduated from there. Yeah, but there I was in the belly of the beast.
That's it, man.
In the Bible, the buckle of the Bible Belt.
That's it, the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Yeah, and I got out. I get in and out alive.
You survived.
David Jackson and I were wondering if you were going to need an escort from the airport to wherever you were, your hotel or wherever you were staying, because
no, I wore my Groucho Marx. Disguise. Yeah, with my sunglasses. But no, I had a good time down there with the journalism students. They have their own little TV network.
Oh, cool.
On campus.
Oh, very cool.
And they had a little event, and the very first event that they have sponsored. Yours truly coming down to talk about media and politics. With
Paladins,
students.
right?
Paladin.
I think the firm Paladins.
Yeah,
all right. Okay.
Yeah. It's a Paladin network.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's what they call it. Yeah.
Very nice.
Right. So there we go. Indeed, good to be back. And yes, now this is what I love. God bless America. There's an entrepreneur who sees an opening, sees an opportunity, and takes it, and he'll be another John D. Rockefeller. This guy is up in Massachusetts. His name is Kyle Waring, and he says, we got so much snow, there are people around who probably have never seen snow. So how about if we ship them our snow? And he's actually launched a business. He's got a website. It's called Ship Snow Yo.
Ship snow, yo.
ShipSnowYo.com.
Stupid idea. What a dumb idea.
He has a lot of customers so far.
He's got
Well, there are a lot of stupid people.
Here's what he says it's all about.
People are looking to share some of the misery we have in Boston with their friends and family, or they're shipping it to kids who have never seen snow before.
Mm-hmm.
I have questions.
And how much does it cost you? Well, let's say you wanted the special for 6 pounds. That's a lot of snow. 6 pounds of snow.
6 pounds of snow packaged into a 1.5-inch styrofoam container, and that's shipped overnight, and that's for $90.
Yeah, get out of here,
$90. $90.
That's the craziest thing.
He's got 130 customers so far put down $90 for 6 pounds of snow.
Oh, this is crazy.
If you want a more economical choice, you can get 16.9 ounces, a snow bottle, for a good $20.
Oh, for $20. A snow bottle.
$20.
It's from historic Boston, they say on their website.
I want to know if you had how many 90-pound supplies would you need to make a snowman?
Exactly. You should have the snowman kit.
Does it show up as snow?
It's in a styrofoam box. Yes. I don't know how. I guess, well...
It ain't going to show up as snow.
There's packaging.
It's going to show up as
I could understand it.
Because they ship meat and stuff. You gotta...
Yeah, but that's not frozen.
I know.
I'm telling you, this shows up as water. This shows up as water. That's what happens. This shows up as Boston water.
You know what? I have to say, if you're dumb enough to plunk down $90
No.
for 6 pounds of snow. You deserve water.
Exactly.
Don't you think?
Yeah. You can buy an ice maker for that.
I say save your money and buy some pot in D.C. Oh, all right. We'll get to that next, but first, Peter.
This is the Full Court
Yes,
Press.
indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. A scary, scary crash yesterday on I-95 between Newport and Bangor, Maine. It was an accident involving 75 vehicles.
Wow.
It began at about 7:30 in the morning because, of course, of the heavy snow. It shut down that whole section of Interstate 95 for about 5 hours.
How do you sort that out? 75. Imagine the paperwork filling out. This car was there, this car was there, this car was there, this car came. Oh,
50 vehicles had to be towed away. 25 were damaged but were able to drive away. Really, really scary accident if you were on 95.
Yeah.
But it is back open. Conditions are still a little treacherous, so be careful out there. So the weather is bad, Bill. It's bad out there everywhere, especially in Atlanta, where they don't know how to deal with the snow very well, or in the South. Atlanta yesterday, ready for this winter storm, weather got so bad, they had to delay the execution of its only female death row inmate.
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh.
She was scheduled to be put to death last night, Kelly Renee Gizendander. She was scheduled to be put to death at 7 o'clock last night, but the Department of Corrections said that the execution has been rescheduled for March 2nd on Monday because a storm is coming, and they're afraid that not everybody's going to be able to be there and be on all hands on deck, and they want everything to go smoothly. Winter storm bought her a couple more days.
Well, yeah, no comment.
Yeah.
You
Just putting that out there.
Okay.
And in Britain, KFC is rolling out a new coffee cup. You can't get this yet in America, but it's a revolutionary coffee cup. Why is it revolutionary? Well, the cup is going to be fashioned out of a cookie wrapped in edible sugar paper and fortified with a layer of heat-resistant white chocolate. So you're going to get the cup, and you're going to pour the coffee into the cup, and inside of the cup is white chocolate that doesn't melt. In defiance of God's law, it doesn't melt. And as you drink the coffee,
the sugar
melts a little bit, and then you eat the cup, so there's no waste.
Oh, my goodness.
That's stupid idea. Yeah.
You could also put your melted snow in the cup.
Yeah, right.
You got that kind of money to spend.
All right, that's never going to come to this country. By the way, a little bit later, Congressman Dan Kildee from Michigan will be joining us in studio. Alan St. Pierre from NORML will be here. We'll talk to David Korn from Mother Jones, the man who blew the whistle on Bill O'Reilly. And later this hour, Eric Alterman writes a great column for The Nation magazine called The Liberal Media. Will be joining us as well. But yes, indeed, this is sort of like July 4. Come early here in Washington, D.C., because today is the day we celebrate our freedom as residents of Washington, D.C., our freedom from the stupid law which banned the recreational use of marijuana. Pot is now legal as of 12:01 this morning in the District of Columbia. Light up, and enjoy the rest of the show. That, of course, is because of Initiative 71, which was overwhelmingly approved by the voters of the District of Columbia last November. Now, what's funny about this is that there are some people who are not happy with this. And I'm not talking about the people who live here who voted against the initiative. I'm talking about Republicans in Congress, most of whom, overwhelmingly most of whom, not all, most, who still consider the District of Columbia to be a colony and treat it as such. And we here who live in the district pay our taxes but get nothing for it, no representation, don't even have a vote, and we can't even do anything unless we say pretty please to members of Congress. So there is a provision that says that the district cannot enact any law unless Congress first says okay. Well, the problem with this is that the voters, so they say after the initiative passed, Congress said, we're going to insist you can't do this, you can't enact this until we approve it. Well, the lawyers said, hey, dudes, you missed the boat. The voters enacted it when they voted for it. That's the legal enactment of the bill. So they lost that round. And then Congress gets, again, under the rules, 30 days to review anything the district plans to do, and then they can pass a bill to stop it. Well, the city council in Washington gave Congress a 30-day period. 30 days ago, guess what? Congress did not do anything. They don't do anything about anything, right? That's what they do. They just sit on their hands. Nothing about immigration reform, nothing about climate change, go down the list. They did nothing about this. The 30-day period expired at midnight last night. So they blew it. They missed their chance. So at 12:01 this morning, recreational use of pot officially became legal in the District of Columbia. Now, it's fairly restrictive. You can only smoke pot in your own home or somebody else's home. Only do it in private. You can't smoke it out in public, which means you can't smoke it in a park. You can't smoke it on the street. Can't smoke it on any federal property, so you can't smoke it on the mall, right? Or and you can't smoke it in your car on a public street, or in an alley or whatever. Or you can't smoke it in a public place. But other than that, recreation of pot agrees. And the mayor held a news conference yesterday afternoon. Our new mayor, Muriel Bowser, is saying, hey, we're ready to go.
Our government is prepared to implement and enforce Initiative 71 in the District of Columbia.
Yes. However, some of these Republicans in Congress now, they're refusing to go along with this and are raising holy hell. There's a guy named Andy Harris, congressman from, these are people, by the way, who don't live in the district, of course. Eleanor Holmes Norton, our neighbor on the Hill, who is our non-voting representative in Congress. I mean, she says, yeah, the people have spoken. Let's go forward, right? But Andy Harris from Maryland, nearby, he's a big opponent of this, says we're going to stop this somehow. Jason Chavez from Utah, for God's sakes, he yesterday said that the mayor should be arrested if anybody's allowed to smoke pot today. Arrested for carrying out the will of the voters of the District of Columbia, which is crazy. Again, the mayor was asked yesterday about whether or not she's ready to go to jail.
We're acting lawfully. So I have a lot of things to do here in the District of Columbia. Me being in jail wouldn't be a good thing.
I like that.
I mean, look, it's the law.
Yeah.
It's the law. And aren't Republicans the ones who are so on board with states' rights and states being able to decide how they want to operate and what they want to do, and keep the federal government out of meddling with people?
Yeah. Oh, but please, the people of the District of Columbia don't have any rights.
That's right.
Just a colony again. Yes. By the way, Mayor Bowser had a message to Congressman Chaffetz from Utah, which is basically mind your own damn business.
Bullying the District of Columbia is not what his constituents expect, nor do ours.
Yeah, right. Very, very, very good point. Several Democrats in Congress, by the way, countering that, came out yesterday. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, Elijah Cummings from up in Baltimore, Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut, our good friend Jared Polis from Colorado, all came out and said, look, the district voters have spoken, let them go forward. And as Jared Polis pointed out, which of those other members of Congress would stand by and let Republicans threaten to arrest their governor for carrying out the will of the people as expressed in an initiative?
Yep.
It wouldn't happen in Colorado, wouldn't happen in Michigan, wouldn't happen in any other state, should not happen in the District of Columbia. So here we go. Will Congress butt out? Should they butt out? This is an issue now that these members of Congress outside the district are weighing in and threatening to arrest our mayor. It's suddenly become a national issue. Should the people of the District of Columbia, who voted for the legalization of marijuana, just like the voters of Colorado and Washington State and Alaska and Oregon, Should we be able to smoke pot legally here in Washington, D.C. without having our mayor arrested? 866-55-PRESS. You pot lovers of America, weigh in here on the, or non-pot lovers, on the Bill Press
Freedom
Show
lovers.
this Thursday. Freedom lovers. 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Did you know? Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job, and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand, and they don't get it, and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all of the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university?
Yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Show
27 minutes after the hour, legal recreational use of marijuana hits the District of Columbia, 12:01 a.m. this morning. All right, so 6.5 hours later, what are you waiting for?
Did you
Peter.
wake up early?
Yeah, I got it.
Remember, we're on Twitter.
Wake up early, I didn't go to bed.
That's right. Remember, we are on Twitter at BP Show. Robbie Bright says as soon as the GOP can figure out how to get off of the tobacco teat and profit from weed, they'll be all over legalization everywhere.
Yeah.
You can leave your comment at BP Show on Twitter.
Good point. Follow the money, huh?
Exactly.
Yes. Out in Chico, California. I understand Chico's been known to have had some pot in that area of California. Here's Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Bill. Yeah. I think we've smoked a joint or two in Chico.
This morning?
I think it's great that DC is finally doing that. And I had a question for you. I just wonder if your wife's going to make scarves out of hemp.
Whoa!
Good idea.
You know what, Mark? I'll bring that up with Carol when I get home from the studio today.
There you go.
Yes, indeed. I don't know why she makes scarves out of silk. So why
bamboo?
I'm sorry, I meant to say yeah.
She does the bamboo.
Rayon chenille and bamboo.
She can do hemp.
So she can do bamboo. You could do hemp. Whoa. Stay tuned. We'll have an update here from the Carol Press studio on you get your orders in either for 6 pounds of snow or for the first scarf made of hemp.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
All right, closing in on 34 minutes after the hour here on a Monday, Independence Day in Washington, D.C. The voters last November here in Washington, just like the voters in Colorado, Washington State, Alaska, and Oregon, and soon to be Vermont, said we believe that the recreational use of marijuana should be legalized. And as of 12:01 this morning, the deadline for Congress to act to stop it has passed, and the mayor has said legalized recreational use of marijuana will proceed. So you can light up here in the District of Columbia as of now, as long as you do so privately and not in your own home. We're not sure yet about in your own radio studio, but stay tuned. 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number. Mark here joining us from White Cross, Georgia. Hello, Mark.
Hey, did you say the Congress did not act? So
did not. Right.
So the Republicans are going to go ahead and let it go through?
No, they're still threatening to try to stop it. But they did have a 30-day, they got 30 days basically, right? The city has to notify Congress, okay, here's what we're planning on doing. You got 30 days to undo it, basically. That 30 days has expired. So now Republicans in Congress, however, still say it's illegal because we haven't given the green light, and they say they're going to try to stop it somehow, any way they can. Even yesterday, Jason Chavez from Utah threatening to have the mayor arrested. We'll see what happens. I doubt that'll do that.
Is there any bigger bunch of hypocrites than
No.
Is there anywhere?
I think, knows the easy answer to that. No, as Peter pointed out, these are the people who say, we believe in states' rights,
Keep
right?
the federal government out of my life.
Yeah.
Keep them out of the interfering with state governments.
We believe in local government, that people ought to have the right to, right. So there you see, Mark. They believe that until they disagree with it. And, of course, the classic case was Florida in 2000.
Yeah.
Where Florida didn't even have they wouldn't even let Florida conduct its own elections. When it looked like that Al Gore might win, the Supreme Court stepped in and said, no, we're not going to let that happen. No. Florida, no, they don't know how to count their own votes. We'll count them for them. The 9 of us will decide who's the president of the United States. In, Georgia, coming through loud and clear this morning. Down in Ringgold, Georgia. Norman, what do you say?
Hey, guy, I'm all for it. Y'all fight them all the way. I'm terminally ill in North Georgia. I was on liquid Marinol, but I can't get legal pot now, and I've lost weight. I don't sleep for 4 days at a time, and when I do, it's only for 2 hours, and it starts over again.
Oh, my. You cannot get legal medical marijuana in Georgia?
I was on liquid Marinol at one time, but I can't get them to give it back to me.
Yeah. I mean, talk about legalized recreational smoking. Absolutely. But there is no excuse for not allowing medical marijuana.
You know what's interesting to
even
me?
Pat Buchanan came around on that issue. He used to be against it. Now he sees it's just a matter of pure compassion and mercy and decency.
The marijuana.
Thanks, Norman. Good to hear from
the
you.
medical marijuana dispensary here in Washington, D.C. is right down the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a block away from the studio. We've made friends with them, and I've been in there a couple of times. And the people that are in there...
That's funny. I usually go to the doctor downstairs here. You go to the medical marijuana
it's a
clinic.
doctor.
You're just doing research, of course.
Yeah. I'm curious is all.
Yeah.
The people that are in there in the waiting room are really hurting. Like, I thought it would kind of be a little cartoonish of people all giggling and giving each other side eyes, like, look what we got done, like we got this card. But there are real people in there, and you hear them tell stories about what they've been through, what they're going through, how they've slept through the night for the first time in a long time since they started using marijuana. People are really getting help.
The bigger issue here, of course, is the status of the District of Columbia, right? And it gets back to the idea that, and again, you live in the suburbs, I live right down the street. For the residents of the District of Columbia, I mean, we are American citizens. We do pay our taxes, and I, I gleefully pay my taxes because I think we live in such a great country. I'm willing to do my share to help support it, and yet we don't have a vote in this district. I mean, it's outrageous. Now, add to that the fact that according to Republicans in Congress, we not only don't have a vote, we don't have a right to run our own city without every single action taken by the city council or by the voters of the District of Columbia having to be first approved by Big Daddy down the street.
Yeah.
And treated like stepchildren.
Yeah.
Or, again, like members of a colony, not members of a state. Now, I personally think statehood is the answer for the District of Columbia. But maybe people are not ready for a 51st state. But, they could at least give us the right to vote and at least give us a right to determine our own destiny. And if the people here want to look at the gun control laws, that's one case where the District of Columbia the Congress did overrule the citizens of the District of Columbia with a little bit of help from the Supreme Court. One more call here before we move on the legalized recreational use of marijuana. By the way, I should point out, I meant to earlier, there's a little, this is not a clear initiative in this sense. Yes, you can smoke it in your own home, in private, somebody else's home, as long as it's in private. You can't do it in public. But you can't sell it either. So you can buy it, but you can't sell it. Right? I'm not sure how that works out.
Give it to friends, or you can...
But somebody has to be selling it.
Yeah.
Somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Unless you can grow your own, But let's face it, most people are not
They're
going
to grow your own.
Most people are not going to grow their own.
That's too much work.
So there's some things have to be worked out here. But Congress ought to just butt the hell out of it. Let's say hello to Dakota up in Berlin, New Hampshire. Dakota, what do you say?
Congratulations, guys, on the legalization in the capital of our country.
Yes.
Now, if we can just get it legalized in the rest of the country, well, a lot of people will be happy. We can get rid of bad stuff like alcohol and cigarettes.
Yeah, live free or die. What's New Hampshire waiting for there, Dakota?
Well, there have been talks about, a couple dispensaries here and there, but I don't know what's going to happen because...
I don't know. Has it ever been on the ballot? Do you know? Has it been on the ballot in New Hampshire?
Yeah, it's been talked about, but I don't think anything has been reached. I think we're waiting for the rest of the country.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, there are, 4 or 5 states so far, right? Four.
We're the fourth. We're the fourth for recreational because Alaska just passed earlier in the week.
Right.
And so now we're 4.
So it's Colorado, Washington State, Oregon.
Alaska.
Oregon jumps in July 1. Alaska, Oregon,
DC.
and then D.C. So we actually are ahead of Oregon. And Vermont is expected to do so this year. And we'll get the update on all of this from Alan St. Pierre from NORML in our third hour together today. And when we come back, Eric Alterman from The Nation magazine.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
Yeah, I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water. Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer. Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now. Please.
the most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
14 minutes now before the top of the hour. Here on The Bill Press Show this Thursday, February 26th. You've heard me say many times, I can't remember how long I've been a subscriber to The Nation magazine, but I consider it the liberals' Bible in this country. And there are many good friends there at The Nation, including John Nichols and Katrina Vanden Heuvel. But my first stop in The Nation every week is the liberal media, column by Eric Alterman. Usually because I agree with everything he has to say. Eric Alterman joins us on our news line this morning. Hey, Eric, good to talk to you again.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing? Everything good?
Yep.
All right. I want to ask you, first of all, if we start, you have a new ebook out about Bill de Blasio, right? Inequality and One City. How's de Blasio doing so far, in your judgment?
You know, he's doing surprisingly well. He's got two mandates, de Blasio, as the mayor of New York City. One is to make everything work, you know, snow shoveling, safe streets, subways. And the other thing is to attack inequality. That's what he was elected on. That was the focus of his campaign. He won the mayoral race a year ago by just about 50 points, and he's managed to do both. I mean, no mayor can solve inequality, but New York City government is big and powerful, and he's using it for that purpose. And so far, I'm impressed with the results. Still early to tell, but so far, I'm impressed.
Right. And on the first part about, if you, I guess, did use the overworked phrase, keeping the trains running on time, right, or getting the show snowballed. I mean, he's done that.
Yeah. No. People. He wasn't elected. People were very worried about that. Yeah. And you may have heard when he was first inaugurated about a year ago. There were some snow removal issues, and the really rich people on the Upper West Side were fetching that he was prejudiced against them. But you know, that was what happens when you get a big snowstorm. Since then, there's been very little of that kind of complaining. The crime rate has continued to fall. The city is in very strong economic shape, and he was able to pull off this incredible, ambitious task of creating a whole new grade for the public schools. He got the money from Albany, $300 million for pre-K for all of New York City's school kids. People didn't think that was going to happen. And it went incredibly smoothly. Went much more smoothly than I thought it would when I was writing the book.
And he didn't have a lot of help from Governor Cuomo, to say the least, right?
Well, Cuomo won't help him with anything that costs money. And sometimes Cuomo likes just stick his finger in his eye to show him who's boss. That's for sure. Cuomo is not a partisan for de Blasio, but Cuomo wants to be popular in New York City, and he also wants to keep his incredibly wealthy donors happy. So if he can do both, he'll do both. If he has to choose one, he's going to choose the donors.
Well, I'm impressed with what you say about de Blasio's on the other side of the equation. This is carrying through with his promise of addressing the issue of income inequality in the city in many different ways, because so often we have seen people that we thought were progressives, or maybe we projected our progressive policies onto them, candidates like Barack Obama, dare I say, right, that we turned out to be disappointed in. What you're saying is so far de Blasio is not disappointed his base.
You know, I can't speak for thousands or millions of people, but I actually expected de Blasio to be more like Obama, which was, you know, my view of Obama, I wrote a little book about Obama in 2010, was that he is a liberal, but he's not a fighting liberal. He's a do-the-deal liberal, and whatever the deal is, he'll take it. De Blasio is actually, he'll do the deal too, but he'll fight for it for a while, and he'll got the best deal he possibly can.
Yeah.
And he's willing to use the power of government to do that. Obama, it's so important to him to be able to say that he tried to bring both sides together that he's not willing to get in a fight. Maybe he will in his last 2 years. But de Blasio's done it from the start, and he's won a lot. He's won a lot from developers. He's won a lot of money for education. He's making progress with the police, even though they fought him. It's showing that a fighting liberal can win. At least in New York City.
Yeah. Anyway. Where can people find the book and get the book?
You can order it from ebooknation.com, or you can find it on Amazon.
It's an ebook at ebooknation.com. We'll put a link up on our website.
You can also order it as
well.
a paperback on demand if you don't like to read ebooks, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's a nice
You
option.
should see Bill just perk up.
Oh yeah, no, I'm all for that. So Eric, I got to ask you on the media front, are you surprised at the difference of the way NBC handled Brian Williams and Fox News is handling Bill O'Reilly?
Am I surprised? Not at all. I think this is all kind of interesting. On the one hand, the media, somebody in the media is saying that it's silly to try and hold Bill O'Reilly to the truth. That's not what Fox is about. And yet, on the other hand, they're going, "Oh, Fox News reported this. Fox News reported that." Fox News is a less serious news station than Comedy Central. And the idea that Bill O'Reilly has been making stuff up, well, I'm not. We knew that.
Sure.
That's not news. The idea, but it's so funny, the schizophrenic notion that the media have. On the one hand, they're shocked, and on the other hand, they think, oh, well, you made a mistake by going after them for the truth because their viewers don't care about the truth. We all knew that. It's time we started treating them that way.
Right, yeah, and good for our friend David Korn for blowing the whistle on him, I think. Rudy Giuliani, why do people still take him seriously, or do they?
Fox News, There's a section of the country that is all about us versus them, and us is this very small group of white people who don't like the fact that the country is turning into a different country than the one they grew up in, and they rage against it, and that is taken seriously in these quarters. It's not taken. Nobody in New York politics takes what Rudy Giuliani says seriously. It's just a media thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's kind of died out now, but it got too much attention at one time. And finally, I know we're short on time here, but as long as I've subscribed to The Nation, I think I've been a subscriber of the New Republic, which I never considered a liberal magazine, but sort of a, whatever, middle of the road or something. And is the TNR still have a future, do you think, under its new leadership?
Yeah, I think so. If its owner is continuing willing to lose $5 million a year, if he's not willing to lose money, then it has no future. And the question is he seriously deluded that a magazine like that can make money or not? But we should mention, Bill, I'm sure you'll be talking about this in the future, that whereas the New Republic imploded after its 100th year, The Nation is celebrating its 150th year.
Yes.
It's the oldest continuously publishing weekly magazine in America, and it's taking a bow this year, and I guess it's deserved.
No, absolutely. Thank you for raising it. We have talked about it several times, and we'll continue to talk about it. It's a great, great achievement, 150 years of The Nation. And Eric Alterman, thanks so much for joining us this morning, man.
Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. The new book, Inequality and One City, his ebook. Link on our website, BillPressShow.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan. And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately I've been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
Real quickly, Peter.
Yeah, yesterday, Karen Brueggemann from National Journal was writing about Bobby Jindal and David Vitter, and she asked Bobby Jindal, what do you think about David Vitter? And Jindal replied, quote, if you turn off your recorder, I'll tell you what I really think about him. End quote. Message received.
Sounds like not a love lost between the governor and the senator from Louisiana.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you say, everybody? It is Thursday, February 26th. So good to see you today. And thank you for joining us here, the Bill Press Show. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, a very snowy nation's capital this Thursday morning. Government offices, in fact, are opening 2 hours late to allow people to deal with the snow on their morning commute. And we're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKRTV. Good to have you with us. President Obama jetting down to Miami yesterday on Air Force One to appear on a big town hall on Univision and MSNBC, where he once again challenged Congress to do the right thing and fund the Department of Homeland Security with no strings attached. Meanwhile, it looks like we could be edging toward a compromise, at least in the Senate, where Republican leader Mitch McConnell has proposed scrapping the bill that would defund the Department of Homeland Security, with two bills, one to fund the department and the other to repeal the president's orders, executive orders on immigration, which, of course, the president would veto. Republicans in the Senate say that's good with them. Democrats in the Senate say that's good with them. Democrats in the House are on board. The problem is House Republicans still look like they want to shut down the department. It's up to John Boehner, but time is running out. And here in the District of Columbia, an historic day at 12:01 a.m. this morning, pot officially became legal. The recreational use of marijuana officially legal now in the District of Columbia. But some Republicans in the House are so angry about this, they say that Mayor Muriel Bowser should be arrested the first time somebody lights up a joint here in the District of Columbia. How silly can they get? That's it for today. We want to hear from you at 866-55-PRESS. All of that and more coming up here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
I'm a Piston fan. Their slogan was, we come to work. That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governor should come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas, too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for.
I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or whatever. We're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Only 48 hours to go, but Republicans in the House are still saying, shut her down. Will they reach a compromise? I don't know. We'll find out maybe this hour. Hello, everybody. The Bill Press Show. Here we go. From Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, we are reaching out to you nationwide on your local progressive talk radio station and on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream at TawkrTV. Good to see you today. We're ready to bring you up to date on the news of the day. Whether it's happening here in Washington, around the country, or around the globe, we'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what it all means to you and to your community and to your family. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. That's how you reach us, or you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Good to be back with you today, and thanks to Peter Ogburn for jumping into the host chair yesterday while I was down in the belly of the beast, the buckle of the Bible Belt, Greenville, South Carolina. Greenville.
My home state, David Jackson's home state.
I still can't get it right. Greenville?
Well, Greenville is okay.
Greenville.
Some people from outside of Greenville pronounce
Greenville?
Greenville.
South Carolina, at Furman University. Nice event down there with students and of the Paladin Network, a little TV network on campus. We had a good discussion about media and politics, and it was, I have to tell you, I went south, but it was as cold down there as it is here. No relief.
No thanks.
Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy here leading the team.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, good morning.
With Alicia Cruz ready to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS and Cyprian Bolding. They're on the job, our videographer, keeping us looking good on Free Speech and Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. And in studio with us, good friend of the program from the Hill, covers Congress for the Hill, Kevin Cirilli. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing good, Bill. How are you doing?
Everything's good. Yeah, in fact.
Good to see you, Kevin.
Nice to see you.
By the mention of the snow, it is snowing. Started snowing again last night. I stopped just to change planes in North Carolina, in Charlotte. Governor Pat McCrory yesterday. So we have to shout out to all of our good friends at 880 The Revolution in Asheville. Asheville, the heart of the storm right now. Here's the governor.
We're anticipating a very, very tough storm starting tonight throughout North Carolina, from Asheville all the way to parts of the coast.
Oh, man. From the mountains in Asheville all the way to the coast, a big storm slapping North Carolina. And
easy out there, North Carolina.
A lot of people to go down to North Carolina, as we have, to play a little golf. As the governor says, not so much.
There's not going to be a lot of golf being played in North Carolina during the next several days.
You can sled, though, on those golf courses.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Maybe the next couple of weeks, right? Yeah. They've been really hammered down there. It's been.
Oh, yeah.
But DC's gotten off I don't want to jinx it. I don't even want to put this out there.
You just came in. Is it still snowing?
Yeah, it's snowing, but I mean, it's not
a little bit.
Bad.
It picked up a little bit than when we were coming. I was just looking outside, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
They're saying we might get 1 to 3 inches today. So who knows?
Well, that's enough to shut the government down.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and with the DHS stuff, I mean, they better hope that they keep it all open, because I was talking to a colleague about that yesterday. I'm like, this snowstorm better not delay the timetable of votes.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well,
it would give them even less time to get something done.
But it looks like that's not going to be the case.
All right, so we've got that's a big issue. We're talking about this pending government shutdown. Congressman Dan Kildee will be here in the next half hour to get his take on it as well. In the next hour, we talk with Alan St. Pierre from NORML about the legalization of recreational marijuana in the District of Columbia, which took effect at 12:01 a.m. this morning. David Korn will join us from The Nation magazine. He's the guy that blew the whistle on Bill O'Reilly. And Lynn Sweet will join us from Chicago with the big runoff now for Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Unexpectedly forced into a runoff. All of that coming up. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Speaking of mayors, former mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford, announced yesterday that he is going to be auctioning off some of his famous items of clothing. So he's known for when he made that announcement and confirmed that he had been smoking crack on that tape. He was wearing an NFL football-themed tie kind of notoriously wearing that really ugly tie. He's auctioning that off. He says 10% of the proceeds are going to charity. I guess he needs the money.
Needs some money, right? Yeah.
He's also auctioning off.
He's no longer in office at all, is he?
No, he is. He is in office. I didn't realize this. So he withdrew from the mayor's race, and then he moved over to run for city council. So he's a city councilman for Ward 2 in Toronto.
Why doesn't he write a book?
He really should write it.
I would
I think he's waiting for the reality show.
Yeah, right. He's also auctioning off some old pajama pants.
He may be writing a book, yeah.
Yeah. He's trying to make some money here somehow.
Pajama pants?
But he's pajama pants that he wore. I don't think I want any pajama pants.
I don't want anybody's used pajama pants.
No, absolutely
not. Rob McCourt's? Or, I'm sorry.
Rob Ford?
Rob Ford.
Certainly not. Certainly not. A new study in the journal Scientific Reports shows that marijuana is actually a lot safer for you than alcohol. When they took a look at all of the diseases that come from using marijuana and all of the diseases and the rate that they take the effect on your body that come from alcohol, they find out that weed is actually 114 times less deadly than alcohol. Again, that comes from the journal Scientific Reports.
That's a fascinating debate, and how this plays out in D.C., I think, is going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah,
with the politics.
Yeah,
of it.
I believe that. I think people have a lot more harmful effects of alcohol than pot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it still should go without saying, if you smoke anything, it's not very good for you.
Right.
With the alcohol, it really does damage on your body. Yesterday, FX confirmed that Season 5 of American Horror Story is taking place. It's going into production. It's going to be called Hotel, and it's going to be starring Lady Gaga.
Whoa.
It's a big get for them, right?
Is she gonna play herself? I mean,
they haven't really said. She put out a very cryptic tweet that shows her with some sort of weird symbiote thing on her head.
She woke up like that.
Yeah, exactly. It just like crawls off of her face. That's the teaser that she tweeted out. So we'll have to see. I don't watch American Horror.
Neither do I, but a lot of people speak very highly of it.
That's a perfect home for her.
Say it's great. Yeah, it's a really creepy show.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on FX.
But is the first season or?
You know what? I think it is.
Okay, I'll have to.
I think it is. So you'll have to wait for Season 5 to see Lady Gaga.
Okay, there we go. We have our own horror story here in Washington, D.C. playing out right now. Kevin Cirilli, which is the battle over funding of Department of Homeland Security. President Obama was in Miami yesterday at the big town hall for Telemundo and MSNBC and calling on Congress again to do the right thing and to fund DHS. Where does this stand right now?
Well, I think what's going to happen is that there is going to be, so the Republican dynamic is what to watch here, right? I mean, you have folks in the House that are more aligned with the Tea Party that really just are pushing for one DHS funding bill.
Well, and they've passed it in Senate.
Yeah, and they've passed it, but now the Senate has that would defund parts of President Obama's executive order on immigration policies. Now, the Senate has not been able to do that because Democrats have said, hey, wait a minute, we're not going to get on board with this. We want to have a clean DHS funding bill that has nothing to do with President Obama's executive orders on immigration. And so the Senate is passing a clean DHS funding bill, but it's going to come down to the wire as to whether or not the Tea Party and House Republicans will be able to get in line with Speaker Boehner and pass a clean DHS funding bill.
Right. So in the Senate, actually, McConnell has said we're going to pass two bills, right?
Yes.
One is a clean DHS funding bill, and the second is a bill to repeal the executive orders on immigration, which one would even question whether Congress has that authority to rescind an executive order, but President Obama will veto it anyway, right?
Well, he would veto it anyway, but what's interesting here, and an exclusive op-ed with The Hill earlier this week, President Obama really made his case on this issue because he said that he would fight a Texas judge's ruling to stall his executive orders on immigration. And so you're seeing President Obama really making the case across the country, in Miami, in op-eds, and directing DOJ officials to continue forward with these immigration proposals.
All right. So now, as you pointed out, we've got Senate Republicans are okay with this McConnell compromise, if you will. Senate Democrats are okay with it. House Democrats are okay with it. John Boehner's got to bring it up for a vote in the House.
We've seen this.
And allow Democrats to vote for it. If he does, there are enough Democrats and enough Republicans who will probably pass.
Correct.
But will he do so? And Boehner's got until midnight tomorrow night.
He's got until midnight, and we've seen this play out time and time again with. And I think what's interesting here is this is really the first test for Leader McConnell, who just after the midterm election said there's not going to be any more cliffs, there's not going to be any more shutdowns, and so this, time to see what's going to happen here. And what's interesting, Bill, is that I speak with a lot of Republican strategists and donors as we're heading into the new election cycle, and a lot of them understand how important the issue of immigration reform is to expand the Republican Party. And so you look at someone like former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, who has a much more moderate position, more centrist position on immigration. And a lot of the strategists and the donors, as we're heading into, there could be like 16 some Republican presidential candidates, are concerned that if you have this type of rhetoric that is ratcheted up on an immigration debate, you risk alienating a crucial part of the Republican electorate.
Well, that's one risk. The other risk is, again, looking like the party that is just the obstructionist party and shutting down shutting down the government. I mean, a lot of Republicans understand, McConnell being number one, that shutting down the government is not good for the party.
And this
they're going to get blamed for it.
And what's interesting about this particular debate is that it's the Department of Homeland Security. And so at a time when our brave men and women are fighting overseas against the ISIS terrorists, I mean, this is something a lot of Republicans on foreign policy have really criticized former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for her policies overseas, particularly with what's happening overseas with ISIS. And so you're looking at this, and now they have a decision that would, the message that perhaps that would send politically is what they're going to have to weigh in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, think of the time. The timing it could not be worse for these people.
But I don't think they're going to do it.
You've got Paris, you've got Copenhagen. Yesterday, or this morning, I guess, Peter, the New York Times, Washington Post has revealed the identity of Jihadi John.
I saw that.
3 men arrested yesterday in Brooklyn,
which is terrifying,
trying to get to Turkey, so they can join ISIS. And if not, they'll just conduct their own, they say, terrorist activities here in this country. And at this time, when there are more and more threats for terrorism, the Republican answer is to shut down the Department of Homeland Security, of all departments. Not EPA, not education, not the IRS, the Department of Homeland Security. They're out of their freaking minds to do that.
On the flip side of that, and again, I'm an impartial journalist, Republicans will say that Democrats have stalled in the Senate. But I do want to make a point, because this is all going to be...
Republicans are going to get blamed for it. Don't you agree?
I don't know who's... I mean, that's not... I don't assign blame. I just cover
look at the history.
But wait, I want to make one point.
Every time there's been a government shutdown, that the Republicans, from Newt Gingrich to John Boehner 2 years ago, the Republican Party got the blame.
And if you look at the last one, Senator Ted Cruz in particular, a lot of blame for that. But what's going to be the timing of this? Guess what starts? CPAC. And so while all of this is going to be going on, you're going to be having former Florida Governor Jeb Bush keynoting at CPAC. You're going to be having Donald Trump. You're going to be having all of these high-profile Republicans, while these last-minute negotiations are going on, speaking at CPAC and the outside Tea Party groups who really feel adamant about this, who really feel, right, wrong, or indifferent, wherever you are on the ideological spectrum, who feel adamant about opposing President Obama's executive orders on immigration. The Heritage Foundation, just to name one in particular, are going to be at CPAC while this is going on. So there's a snowstorm, there's CPAC, and it's coming down to the wire.
It's Washington, D.C. The circus is open, and more of a clown show than ever before, I think. So what will Boehner do in the end run? We'll get into that question when we come back here on the Bill Press Show with Kevin Cirilli from The Hill, thehill.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university? And,
yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend.
My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
After the hour clock runs out at midnight on Friday. Kevin, I want to talk to you about something else, but before we move on from this, what do you think in the end John Boehner will do?
I think that DHS will not shut down. I think that if there's a brief shutdown, maybe like for a couple of hours, kind of like what we saw with the Cromnibus battle, but I just don't see how...
Somehow they'll work it out.
Yeah, I don't see how they shut down the Department of Homeland Security, especially with everything that's happening overseas.
All right. Now, President
That would certainly be a really, really, really bad look for everybody. I know
For everybody, yeah.
I agree. I think Republicans would catch the blame, but I think that just everybody in general, the whole body, people would just say, well, we're broken.
Now,
We're broken.
President Obama did something unusual this week. He went over to the to AARP.
Yes.
With Senator Elizabeth Warren.
So I've been covering this like really in the weed issue known as fiduciary standards, which is like, a mouthful in and of itself. But and never in a million years did we ever think that Senator Warren and President Obama would.
So we just have about 30 seconds. What do they propose?
So they want to have more regulations for financial advisors to disclose where the money goes and who they're working for. And the business community says, hey, wait a minute, this is going to limit access to low and middle income Americans because it's going to squeeze them out of the system. It's going to be a huge debate. Warren wing versus moderate Dems and Republicans coming up.
And this will require legislation?
No, but there's legislation proposed to stop it.
Oh, legislation proposed to stop it, yeah. But to see Barack Obama and Elizabeth Warren together, yeah, I mean...
I wonder what Hillary Clinton thinks, the former Secretary of State.
Well, she'll have a chance to tell us, won't she? Hey, Kevin, great to have you here. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
TheHill.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes now after the hour, February 26th on a Thursday. Great to see you today. And thank you for joining us here on The Bill Press Show, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Our studio right here on Capitol Hill, just down the street through the United States Capitol building, where we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Government Employees, the good men and women of the AFGE, keeping all of our federal agencies working hard, even on a snow day like today. They're just coming in, been allowed to come in 2 hours late, all under President J. David Cox. And for more information about their great work, go to their website at afge.org. We love being so close to the Capitol because every once in a while, you know, people just wander in on their way to work.
I got lost. I took a right when I should have gone left.
That'll always get you in trouble.
Right.
You went left here to come. Right. You always have a home here. Congressman Dan Kildee from Michigan, at Michigan's 5th Congressional District. Hello, Congressman. Great to see you.
Good to be back. Thank you.
So none of this cold weather, you're not experiencing any of this in Michigan now.
This is a light frost this morning. We've had really cold weather back home. Coldest that we've had in decades.
I always love when we talk about how cold it is here in D.C. And people will tweet us pictures of their dashboards or things like that. Yeah. And Michigan is just like, come on. You kidding me?
Yeah. Although for us, this winter's been bad, but it hasn't been so much the snow as the cold temperatures.
Right. But, you're mentioning the record in Flint was
25 below. 25 degrees below zero without the wind chill. Without the wind chill. And the wind chill, it was a light breeze that day, so I think it knocked it down to about 33 below. Yeah, but once you get to 17, 18 below, it just, you know. That's really all I'm saying. Yeah. You know, the picnics are canceled.
That is unbelievable.
It's really been cold. It's been, in some ways, there's benefit because the Great Lakes the last 2 years have frozen over, and strangely enough, that decreases the loss of lake level because there's less evaporation.
Yeah,
they're capped, and it's really made a difference. So, in some ways, when we see those lakes freeze over for our farmers and for our recreational folks, everybody, it's actually good news. Helps.
If it ever thaws off.
If it ever thaws, yes.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, honey, let's go take the kids out on a walk across the lake.
All right, so Congressman, at 12:01 a.m. this morning, the recreational use of pot became legal here in the District of Columbia.
Which is why I was a little surprised to see you here this morning.
You haven't heard the end of the story. But there are some of your colleagues in the House who are very upset about this. Congressman Jason Chavez from Utah yesterday said that if anybody smokes a joint here today and is allowed to get away with it, that the mayor, our new mayor, should be arrested.
I wonder if he'll suggest that the mayor of Colorado or the governor of Colorado should be arrested, or the governor of Washington State, or is it Alaska?
Alaska, no, the latest.
Their
right.
beloved Alaska, the governor of Alaska should be arrested. I mean, these public officials are elected to uphold the law that is the manifestation of the will of the people they represent, and the idea, and it's pretty transparent, that they sort of take Washington, D.C. and put it in a special place.
Yeah.
You can't vote. You can't have representation in the U.S. Senate. But we're going to dictate to you how you're going to govern yourselves. Whatever happened to this sort of liberty caucus that they had over there?
Or whatever happened to states' rights?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly a state, but still the principle
It's the rights
one would
of the
think
people
would be the same.
Yeah, it's the rights of the people who live here to determine their own future and their own laws.
Someday, hopefully, that will change. But, a couple of years ago, I thought they had a deal where Utah would get an extra congressman and Eleanor Holmes Norton would get the vote.
Right.
And they couldn't even...
Not even that.
They couldn't even agree on that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Orrin Hatch and
there's no principle.
Was for it, but he couldn't get enough votes.
There's certainly no principle that defends the continued disenfranchisement of D.C. voters. It's just simply a matter of raw numbers. They don't want to see another vote on the floor of the House, or, God forbid, two members of the Senate.
Who might end up being Democrats.
Right.
Or maybe,
whereas, we have states, obviously, we have states that have a single representative but have two members of the Senate. So it's certainly something that makes sense. But we'll see.
Now, so we've got that battle going on. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking. The funding for the Department of Homeland Security runs out tomorrow night at midnight. So what's the mood? It looks like both Republicans and Democrats now in the Senate are willing to compromise in the sense of having two different bills,
right.
One to fund the department and the other to rescind the president's executive order, which is going to get vetoed anyway.
Sure.
But at least it gets us out of this.
And it gives them something to hang their hat on, which shows, for the most part, at the end of the day, many of the Republicans are just more interested in being able to go home and tell folks what they tried to do than being held accountable for actually making policy.
And they also see, at least Republicans in the Senate, a good number of them, that at this particular time, shutting down the Department of Homeland Security is probably not a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, during this, it's always a bad idea, but this is a particularly bad time when we see what's happening around the globe, and there are threats that are right here on our shores that we become aware of. And I've talked to the Secretary of Homeland Security and the folks who run these programs. We met with the Undersecretary yesterday. All the time that they're spending right now trying to navigate Congress, trying to persuade Congress to keep the doors open on their departments, is time that they're not spending on their core functions.
Good
keeping
point,
us
right.
safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really sad. And the other really cynical part of this is I've heard some on the other side, as we've tried to lay out what the consequences of a shutdown might be, they've said things like, well, come on. First of all of these TSA agents will come to work. They won't have a guaranteed paycheck. And it's the same Republicans who actually fought against us providing retroactive pay to folks who were not working during a period of shutdown. But the idea, just the notion that everybody in this country could skip a paycheck or two and be fine. What do they think the TSA agent is going to do? Just tap his trust fund and then pay it back later on when he gets the paycheck? The way they think about and treat public servants, public employees, people who go to work every day to keep the operations of government running, it's pretty sad, and it's very telling.
No, it is. I mean, I've heard this so many times, it drives me crazy. But I've heard it even from some members of the media, that this is not going to have any impact because they'll still have to go to work. They just won't get paid.
Right. So what to worry, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. What's the worry? I mean, how many paychecks do they think they can go and still be able to feed their kids and pay the mortgage and put gas in the car, right? I mean, most people don't have the rainy day slush fund. Right. And also, you've got to ask, I mean, don't take this personally, how many members of Congress would be willing to work a day without a paycheck?
Yeah, not very many. I mean, we would all say that we would, but it's not something that anybody would do, really, for any extended
or should
period
be
of
asked
time.
to do.
Right, or should be asked to do.
So it comes with Republicans and Democrats in the House, and Democrats in this I'm sorry, in the Senate, and Democrats in the House ready to go. Doesn't it all come up to whether or not John Boehner is going to call a vote?
And it does, and it comes down to this basically the same question that we face all the time: will John Boehner have the steel in his spine to take on his own membership? And it's not the majority of his membership. It's this, I don't know how many, 50, 60, 70 members that represent the most extreme ideological point of view within the Republican conference. Will he be willing to take them on and say, look, you can have your position, do what you want to do, knock yourselves out, we're going to govern, and if you want to take me on, give it your best shot. All this talk, and I read a couple of stories this morning about members of his conference threatening to take him out. Come on. It's not going to happen. They know it's not going to happen. There isn't really a mechanism for them to do it that would be effective anyway. A majority of his conference is going to support him. We're not going to participate in a charade that would take him out. I mean, who would be Steve King, Speaker Steve King? Is that what we're talking about here?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, come on, this is insanity.
I know. It's just puzzling because you get that, I get that. Why doesn't John Boehner get that?
I don't understand it. I mean, unfortunately, the
votes are there.
Yeah. Well, now the votes are. Every single Democrat in the House of Representatives has co-sponsored a bill, for a clean DHS funding bill. Every one of us. I mean, it doesn't happen very often.
Right. Yeah. Right.
We have trouble getting agreement.
It's like herding cats to get the Democrats together.
We all are co-sponsors of one piece of legislation. Very easy for the Speaker to get 350 votes, more than that probably, for a clean DHS funding bill. He's really not the Speaker of the House. He's the Speaker of the Republican Conference. He's created a separate legislative body, them.
And what happened to the pledge that you give us control of both houses of the Congress, and we're going to show that we know how to govern. We know how to get this government moving again.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously have completely failed.
Already.
And what are we, 7 weeks into their majority? They have completely failed. Nothing on immigration. I mean, other than this is no substitute for an immigration debate. Nothing on, they talked about trying to deal with the tax code, and we know we have problems in the tax code. Nothing on infrastructure, probably the biggest question that this country faces as we see the Chinese spending 10 times what we do as a percentage of GDP on infrastructure. And meanwhile, the only thing we outspend them on is defense. And we're doing nothing here. Nothing. Not one bill has been brought in front of the House of Representatives that would rebuild a single bridge in the United States of America.
No. So they'll pass the Keystone Pipeline legislation, which is going to be vetoed, which has been vetoed already.
The only thing they seem to be willing to pass are the things that they know the president will veto. I mean, other than, we did one important piece of legislation that's not exactly a popular bill, is the terrorism risk insurance. That's the one sort of substantive piece of legislating that we've done that the president signed. Other than that, this is all theater.
And that's the way it is in Washington, D.C. these days. Congressman Dan Kildee with us from Michigan. Your questions, your comments on this threat to shut down. Looks like it could very well happen. Shut down the Department of Homeland Security. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
Yeah, I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me? Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now. Ban fracking now. Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go now, 11 minutes before the top of the hour. Alan St. Pierre, the executive director of NORML, will be here in studio with us at the top of the hour to celebrate Independence Day in Washington, D.C. when it comes to legalization of recreational marijuana. That took in effect at 12:01 a.m. this morning, unless Congressman Jason Chavez is successful in getting the mayor arrested this morning. Unlikely.
Pretty unlikely.
Little bluster there,
right.
I think. So we're talking about the Department of Homeland Security. What's your hunch that by midnight tomorrow it'll be resolved?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be done by midnight tomorrow, partly because the Senate has its rules and it takes them days sometimes to do what takes us 15 minutes. They have their rules and they are what they are. But I would suspect over the weekend, that there'll be something. We've been advised to not have any firm plans for the weekend. We were normally set to go home this weekend, but most of us are preparing to be here. So we suspect they'll get it done. I don't think they have any choice, especially after McConnell sort of had his dose of reality set upon him, and he knows that this is the only choice that he has. Boehner is going to be the problem. Obviously.
As we've seen on the cable channels this morning, they're still talking about threats to malls here in America. Again, 3 men arrested in Brooklyn yesterday on their way to Turkey to join ISIS. We saw Copenhagen, we saw Paris, we saw the 3 young women from London, and all these more and more threats to our security and concerns about that, legitimate.
Right.
Bill Bratton from New York yesterday talking about what a serious threat this is, and in the light of all that, they're going to shut down the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Really? John Boehner thinks this is really good for the country. let alone for the Republican Party.
You know,
really?
It's terrible. It's disrespectful to the American people, to the people who go to work every day. But the question they really should pose to themselves is, what do they say if something happens? Say not only do we shut down Homeland Security, but even now during this period where the department is distracted from its work, what do they say if something does happen and it's on their watch? I mean, they're sort of political game that they're playing, and they're gleefully wandering around the floor right now. And I'm talking about the small minority of Republicans. Yeah. They love this stuff.
Sure,
they live for it. This confusion, the notion that government is dysfunctional to them just confirms their, I think, very self-centered political hypothesis that nothing government can do ever works. And then they set about to try to prove their theory correct by throwing a monkey wrench in the machinery.
All right. Next week, Congressman, March 3rd is the day that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to address a joint session of Congress to disagree with President Obama on our policy toward negotiations with Iran. Are you going to attend?
I will attend. And I will tell you, I had to think long and hard about this. But my view is I'm not going to sort of double down on disrespect. Netanyahu has been disrespectful to the president. The speaker has been respectful to the president. I think the Israeli ambassador to the United States has some explaining to do. But you know what? I'm going to sit in my seat. I'm going to listen to what he has to say, and then I'm going to criticize the manner with which he arrived. And I probably will find some fault with his message, because what he's doing right now is interfering with, I think, a really important. He's got his political situation, but attempting to undermine delicate negotiations with Iran, multilateral negotiations with Iran, over a very important question, their nuclear capabilities. That's just not wise. And we suspect that will be his message. Of course, he's been proven to be wrong before. He had his sort of yellow cake moment already, where he seemed to dismiss the intelligence of his own government when talking about the breakout capabilities of Iran. But to me, my view is, and I understand my friends and colleagues who are not going to attend, I'm going to sit and listen. You won't see a lot of standing and clapping. And then I'll have an honest ability to criticize or observe on his comments.
You don't think by attending that you're kind of choosing Netanyahu over President Obama?
No, I don't think so. I mean, here's the thing. I was elected to be a member of the House of Representatives. There are many, many things that happen on the floor of that House that would cause me to want to walk away. This is just but one of them. So if I started attending or not attending based on the things that John Boehner does that I find objectionable, I would have a lot of free time on my hands.
You spend a lot of time back in Flint where it's 21 degrees below, right? Or 25 or whatever it is. Okay.
Right.
Congressman, so good to see you. Thanks so much for your time again today.
Anytime.
And your good, strong fight for the working families of America there in the United States Congress.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, and we'll be right back. Tell you what the president's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, you think the first 2 hours are great? Where do you get to hour number 3 here on the Bill Press Show? Yes, indeed. Alan St. Pierre from NORML, Executive Director, will be here in studio with us to celebrate the first day of legalized marijuana recreational smoking here in the District of Columbia. Boy, when Alan comes in with his pockets full of joints, you never know what's going to happen on the first day of legal marijuana here in the District of Columbia. Stay tuned for hour number 3 of the Bill Press Show.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like it back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat the threat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Alan St. Pierre, recreational pot is legal in the District of Columbia as of today. Alan St. Pierre from NORML joins us at the top of the next hour. Then we'll talk to David Korn from The Nation about Bill O'Reilly, and then Lynn Sweet about the big runoff in Chicago in the mayor's race. President Obama today meeting this morning after he gets a daily briefing with African-American faith and civil rights leaders. He'll do some local TV interviews this afternoon in the Roosevelt Room of the White House. And then at 4:30, he and the First Lady have a reception in recognition of African American History Month in the East Room. Our briefing today with Josh Earnest at 12 noon.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to particularly try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now. We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies in Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
There are threats to shopping malls here in America. 3 men arrested in Brooklyn yesterday, heading to Turkey. The FBI says they're investigating ISIS units in all 50 states of the Union. And what do Republicans want to do? Shut down the Department of Homeland Security. Go figure. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It is Thursday, February 26th. This is the Bill Press Show. Here we are with you on your local progressive talk radio station. Great to see you out there in Radioland. Here we are with you on Free Speech TV nationwide. If you got a satellite dish, find us on DirecTV and on the Dish Network. And we're there with you worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. with our entire team here in place this morning. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, good morning.
Hello, hello. Snowing, by the way, in Washington, D.C. Not a great deal of snow. We're not expecting a lot of accumulation, but it's enough that the federal government has been given a 2-hour delay in terms of federal employees getting to work today. They haven't shut down the city yet, but they've shut down a lot of neighborhood schools. Alicia Cruz is here on the phones to take your calls and give you a chance to sound off on the issues of the day. And Cyprian Bolding is there behind the camera, behind the lights on the video cam, keeping us looking good as always on our Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. We've talked a lot lately about Rudy Giuliani and Scott Walker, and Rudy Giuliani saying President doesn't love America. Scott Walker, he's not sure Obama's a Christian. Kind of what's going on? Conan O'Brien kind of put it in perspective for us last night.
A few days after Rudy Giuliani said that President Obama doesn't love America, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker said he doesn't know if Obama is a Christian. Yes. Yeah. When reached for comment, President Obama said, "Guys, you know I can't run in 2016, right?"
Yeah, I'm not sure they do know that Obama can't run. No, I'll tell you, no matter what it is, they're going to be running against Obama in 2016.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, indeed. But, of course, Democrats ran against George Bush in 2008, so maybe that's just the way it is. We've introduced our team here, of course, but we have he's here so often we consider a member of the team.
Yeah, that's right, man.
Alan St. Pierre, Executive Director of NORML, on a historic day in Washington, D.C., because at 12:01 a.m. this morning, the recreational use of marijuana became legal here in the District of Columbia. Hello, Alan.
Good morning. Bill, I feel like I became legal this morning.
Have you been up all night?
Not all night, but I can say I beat the press off last night with a stick until midnight last night as they wanted to endeavor.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I found out that the media liked more than just shrimp boats last night.
Did you have a house party?
To not create domestic...
okay. Yes.
I had to avoid that, but boy, did I want to, at my core last night, at 12:01, have the proverbial party. But I did become... gardener last night. In the middle of a snowstorm, I became a gardener last night.
You did?
Yes.
You planted your crop.
I have planted. I'm trying to germinate my seeds. That's where this begins. Let's begin with 101 here. I've got to germinate the seeds
first, huh?
First, and then we'll see if I can get the plants going.
All right.
That's
He's
cool.
the man who's going to tell us what it's all about, what you can do, what you can't do legally here in the District of Columbia. And a little bit later, then David Korn from The Nation magazine will be here. He's the guy that blew the whistle. I'm sorry, from Mother Jones, used to be with The Nation. Mother Jones. He went further left than The Nation, actually. He went to Mother Jones.
That's possible.
Blew the whistle on Bill O'Reilly. And then Lynn Sweet joining us from Chicago to talk about the big upset, meaning a runoff, which is the last thing that Rahm Emanuel wanted or expected in Chicago. But first... Peter with the big news of the day.
Is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Yesterday, a federal jury in Texas found that Apple needs to pay $532.9 million to a company called Smart Flash LLC. Smart Flash sued Apple for $852 million in damages because they said that Apple not only used their patents without permission, but they did so willfully. The judge agreed with them, didn't give them the full $852 that they were asking for, but gave them $532.9 million. This all goes back to the iTunes software that is infringing on 3 different patents. By Smart Flash.
I think Apple can afford it, but still.
I think they got the money.
Yeah.
I think they got the money. Believe it or not, former Congressman Todd Akin told the St. Louis Dispatch that he hasn't ruled out a primary challenge to Senator Roy Blunt from Missouri. You remember Todd Akin?
Sure.
That of legitimate rape fame. He said, quote, if it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down. End quote.
Shut her down.
Shut him down, he says. He said that back in 2012. I don't think he's actually going to run, but he says he hasn't ruled it out.
There are people who can make political comebacks. I'm not sure Todd Akin is one of them.
I don't think so. And the man known as Jihadi John, the masked man with a British accent seen on the Islamic State videos beheading hostages, has been identified. The Washington Post has a story this morning, says the man's name is Mohammed Emwazi. He's from Britain, from a well-to-do family, grew up in West London, graduated from college with a degree in computer programming. He is believed, this is quoting from the article, he is believed to have traveled to Syria around 2012 and to have later joined the Islamic State.
Boy, he's a marked man, I got to tell you.
You better believe it.
And should be. Okay, Peter, thank you. 13 minutes after that. So, Alan, what, now that, boy, where do we start? What is legal and what's not now in the District of Columbia?
Unlike Colorado and Washington State, a consumer over 21 like myself cannot go into a retail environment and buy it like we traditionally do for alcohol.
Okay.
So what the district voters at the 70 percentile voted for last November was what they would call in Britain and Australia depenalization. It's further than decriminalization like you've had in California for all those years, and it's a step below clearly legalization. So you can have 12 plants in a household, 6 per person, no more than 12 in a household, for which half can be flowering. So we're going to turn police into botanists. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And, I took the lead from Chief Lanier here in D.C. yesterday, where she held a press conference and made it clear. She said, and I'm pretty much quoting, "We don't care if you smoke it on your porch, on your back porch, in the adjoining garage to your house, in your backyard, in your house. Just don't smoke it on the street. You can't sell it. You can trade it for another person. You can have a swap." So I'm going to anticipate we're probably going to see weed swaps here sooner than later. You just can't trade anything for value. It has to be cannabis itself. And you can... and there's no fine, just to stress, 0 fine for 2 ounces or below in your house. And 2 ounces, for those who are totally uninitiated, are probably about 90 pre-rolled marijuana cigarettes, or maybe about 8 or 9 blunts if you're hanging with Snoop Dogg.
Wait. 2 ounces?
2 ounces is a lot of weed.
You get 90 joints out of 2 ounces?
Yeah, an ounce generally is about 35 to 40, what most of us would think of as your standard joint. Mm-hmm.
Whoa. That's a supply that should last you a little while, I would think.
It would.
Depends on your habit.
It depends on your habit. Depends who you're hanging with.
Yeah. Now, here's what I don't get. If you're not allowed to sell it, not everybody's going to grow their own. No. So how do you get it?
Yeah. So, and here's the quintessential example. The percentage of people who use marijuana the most in D.C., which should surprise nobody here, 18 to 25-year-olds. So that would be in this town, university students, pages, interns. They're not going to be growing marijuana.
Right.
So the black market, as it's so known, is still going to be existing. In fact, as I'm going to be a cultivator, I'm growing from seed. That's going to take 9 to 10 months before I could probably have a crop. Well, as you may guess, I'm going to be consuming cannabis in the interim, and that means I'm still going to be buying it illegally.
You know, also, so you're going to grow it, and I've seen marijuana plants, okay? I mean, I wouldn't know how to make a joint out of a marijuana plant. I mean, getting from the marijuana plant to the marijuana that you can roll? I mean, that's another process. What do you have to do? Dry it?
Oh yeah, you've got to grow it. You've got to identify that it's going to be a female plant, and that develops the sensimilla, Spanish for no seeds, in a sense. And so that's the desirable cannabis. You don't want male plants that produce seeds. So there's a bit of a process here. If it's grown from a clone or from a cutting, it takes 90 to 120 days. It grows to a plant. You have to reduce the time of the light exposed on it. It goes to flower. You dry it, and then maybe a week later you can consume it.
Okay. Now, speaking of the product.
That looks familiar.
Alan, right. This is a sample of good DC weed.
Looks very good.
Sour diesel. That's sour diesel.
Is that what it is?
Sour diesel.
Sour diesel.
Very popular.
Which we have obtained. Right? So legally, what are we able to do with this? Could I legally smoke it here in the studio?
Yes, we are in a private space, so such can be done. Previous to the law, if you can believe it, the law passing, if we if we were to share a joint, I've seen many people charged with, if you can conceive this, distributing marijuana just for sharing a joint.
It smells like, pardon me if you don't know, it smells like oregano.
No, it doesn't.
It smells like freedom.
It does.
It smells like freedom.
Oh, sorry. Okay. It does. It smells like freedom. Yeah.
But as adults here in a private space, absent your employer or the those who lease the land here who would say no, we can be doing this in here. Absolutely, we could be smoking a joint right now on the air.
But this is not considered a public place in your.
No, this is not a public place. Is going to be the street, businesses, certainly establishments like restaurants.
Right.
Yep.
And also, you can't smoke on federal land, right? Federal property.
The map of D.C. is going to look remarkable here because D.C. is such an interesting amalgam of federal and D.C. land. So some sidewalks are owned by the federal government, and the next sidewalk is owned by D.C. So this is going to be utterly confusing, even though, again, you're not supposed to be smoking it out on the street. But the consequences are going to be quite a bit different. In D.C., if you're at the Lincoln Memorial or on the C&O Canal, you're still going to get busted for possessing marijuana by the feds, which generally speaking is about a $200 fine if you get caught with what you have in your hand.
So like if you're on the Washington Mall, you're walking down the mall, you should not be smoking a joint.
Should not be smoking. But if they found it, say in your bag, for whatever reason, police get in your backpack or something, or this fell out of your pocket, and they determined it was yours, you'd be looking at about a $200 fine.
Now, Republicans in Congress are not happy with this at all.
Apoplectic.
Yes. In fact,
it's amazing.
To the point that Congressman Jason Chaffetz from Utah, and what the hell is anybody from Utah, why should he have anything to say about anything at all that happens in the District of Columbia, said yesterday that if this goes forward today, Mayor Muriel Bowser should be arrested. She was asked about that at a news conference yesterday.
We're acting lawfully. So I have a lot of things to do here in the District of Columbia. Me being in jail wouldn't be a good thing.
To say the least.
Is it likely to happen?
No, it's just amazing to think that, you're right, the disconnection that you could be from another state. 70% of the voters voted for this. In the country in general, according to Gallup polling, well over 50% of the public supports legalization. In the 4 states that have actually voted for legalization, the average vote total is about 54%. So what doesn't Mr. Chaffetz and others get? Dr. Harris, this is a trend in America. They really can't stop it. This is going to be a fascinating footnote in American history if, in fact, this were to move forward and try to harass the mayor and the police chief.
Yeah.
For affecting the will of the voters.
It's awfully transparent. It's awfully transparent.
It is indeed. We are here in the studio with Alan St. Pierre from NORML, Executive Director of NORML. It's NORML, NORML.org. And here with our own healthy supply of legal DC pot. And we'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it,
Useful, not useful?
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job, and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand, and they don't get it, and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university?
Yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour now. Here, the Bill Press Show brought to you today in part by YP. You used to know them as Yellow Pages. Now it's just YP, the largest marketing agency in the country today for small businesses. And if you're the owner of a small business, you know one of the All right, here we go. 26 minutes after the hour. David Korn from Mother Jones joining us after the half hour. Alan St. Pierre, Executive Director of NORML. Boy, you are on a roll, Alan, here in studio with us. So Colorado, Washington State finally got on board. Now we got Alaska.
And Oregon.
Right? And Oregon as of
July 1st.
July 1st, right? And as of this morning, I want to hold up my sample again of diesel.
Sour diesel.
Sour diesel.
Sour diesel, yes, indeed.
Right. And this is just hot off the shelf here.
That by the way, that's a little over an eighth of an ounce.
Oh, really?
So we talk about having
2 ounces?
2 ounces.
No.
It would be
Big jar.
It would be 16 of that. That times
Wow.
16. That's
Yeah.
2 ounces.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And when you harvest your crop, 12 plants, you would have like how many ounces?
Well, if past is prologue in my life, it would probably be not more than an ounce or two per plant, which would probably be enough for a year. But anybody can go online.
Per plant?
Per plant. But you're probably familiar with some of the plants that grow outdoors in California.
Yeah, right.
And those plants, and you can go online and see them. They literally can grow the size of Christmas trees.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
produce. I've seen plants that can produce 2 to 3 pounds.
Yo.
Per plant. So there is a chance that many of us can be more than self-sufficient and can provide it to friends. That's only if you're a very good grower. I hope to aspire to such, but if my own experience in my misspent youth in college is any indication, we're looking at probably a couple of ounces per plant, which would not be enough for myself and my partner for an entire year. Maybe.
Where do you have them?
They will be in a very small crawl space in my townhouse. Nobody would have any idea that they're there whatsoever, except for when the light turns on and you see a light come out from underneath the closet.
Yeah, you have grow lights, right?
Yeah, just a very small, maybe not more than $250 investment, and somebody can go from zero to hero.
Well, what a historic day for the District of Columbia.
It is indeed.
Everybody takes advantage of it. We have not taken full advantage of it yet. But stay tuned here for the Bill Press Show. And Alan, so Vermont is next, right? Do you think?
The states that I think are going to do it next are Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, and California. Those are the next big ones.
All right. Thanks so much, Alan. Great to see you.
Right, see you on the road.
Congratulations.
Is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I see a dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. 33 minutes after the hour. Thursday, February 26th, The Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill. It was just about a week ago, the Mother Jones magazine reported that Bill O'Reilly, host of The O'Reilly Factor, of course, on Fox News, might have a Brian Williams problem of his own, exaggerating his role in the fact that he might have reported from a combat zone, war zone, rather, and that he actually had some combat experience. Bill O'Reilly did not hesitate to respond to the accusations from Mother Jones magazine. Here he is.
This man, 56-year-old David Korn, who works for the far-left magazine Mother Jones, smeared me, your humble correspondent, yesterday, saying I fabricated some war reporting. Mother Jones, which is low circulation, considered by many the bottom rung of journalism in America. Basically, David Korn, a liar, says I exaggerated situations in the Falklands War and the Salvadoran War. Here's the truth. Everything I've said about my reportorial career, everything, is true.
There it is. David Korn himself joins us on our news line this morning, TC editor for Mother Jones. So, David, you've been called a liar and an irresponsible gutter snipe.
Gutter snipe is my favorite. Yeah.
But has Bill O'Reilly disproven any of your assertions?
I know you and your audience, Bill, will be shocked, utterly shocked to hear this. But in a week of attacks from Bill O'Reilly and his minions, not once has he or his minions pointed out a single factual error in the story that I wrote with my colleague Dan Shulman. In fact, Bill O'Reilly, and I know this will shock you and your readers and audience members even further, has tried to put out statements or produce proof, whether it's video of what happened when he was in Buenos Aires or documents that he found in his basement. And believe it or not, this proof either proves that our story was right or is irrelevant to the issues in contention. So, he can do what he wants. He resorts to name-calling. In one interview, he said I should be put in the kill zone, his words, which seems certainly like a threatening, remark. And just imagine this, Bill Press. Imagine if Anderson Cooper, that lovely CNN anchor, said of Bill O'Reilly in some instance that Bill O'Reilly should be put into the kill zone. How do you think Bill O'Reilly and Fox and all his conservative minions would respond to that?
Right, and there are two basic contentions here. Read your piece, and congratulations on the great reporting. One is he says he was in the war zone, in the covering the Falklands War. The fact is, and you've had several former CBS correspondents, some of whom were down there with him, who said nobody ever got to the Falklands. They were in Buenos Aires, 1,200 miles away, right?
Yes, the only war zone during the Falkland War, which some of your listeners might not recall, might be too young to recall, happened in 1982 between the British
and
quasi-empire run by Margaret Thatcher and the Argentine military junta, which had seized British territories 300 miles and 1,500 miles off the coast of Argentina. And the only fighting that occurred were on those islands.
Yeah.
And not a single American correspondent got to the islands while the fighting was happening.
Yeah.
So Bill O'Reilly says he was in a war zone in Argentina, in the Falklands. He said this numerous times. We have him on tape.
Mm-hmm.
We have him on his own show saying that. Yet, after the story comes out, he tells reporters, I never said I was in the Falklands. Well, that's like saying, the sky is not blue, it's purple. Yeah, that's the ticket. And reporters at several, reputable media establishments just, take the dictation from O'Reilly and just put it in the stories. He said he never said he was in the Falklands.
But he did.
When our very own story has videotape of him saying those words.
Yeah, no, I read that. I saw that. And the other contention is that he was in his combat experience was this massive, violent protest where the police were just mowing people down with live ammunition in the streets of Buenos Aires.
This is his fallback position. Nobody got to the Falklands, he says, but there was a protest at the end of the war in Buenos Aires when after the military junta surrendered, and people were upset because they thought they were winning the war because of the propaganda coming their way. Mm-hmm. And they had a demonstration that got ugly. And indeed, there was some violence. Some buses were burnt. Some, rubber bullets were fired at the crowd to disperse it. Tear gas was used. But O'Reilly, in describing this to indicate he was in a combat-like situation, has said that Argentine troops mowed down, used real bullets, fired into the crowd, killed many people. He describes a massacre, and that while this was going on, his cameraman got hurt, fell down, hit his head, and O'Reilly had to save the tape. He rescued the cameraman while being chased by Argentine soldiers who at that point were probably, no longer gunning down civilians. So this is his war zone activity. What's wrong with this is, it happened. It's not a war zone. It's a riot. It's sort of a mid-scale riot, not a major riot. It happened after the war was over, and numerous CBS people say no cameraman was hurt, so there was nobody to rescue. But perhaps the biggest point is Argentine troops did not fire with real bullets into the crowd. Nobody died.
And there
were no fatalities. Many, you write in his book, many were killed. We've talked to many CBS people there. We've talked to, an Argentine historian has come forward. There were no reports of any fatalities.
Right.
So he's just, completely on his own in this one.
All right, so we know that Bill O'Reilly, shock, that Bill O'Reilly was lying, right? What's going to happen to Bill O'Reilly? Suspended for 6 months?
I haven't heard that news yet. Is that
yeah, right.
I don't think you're going to hear that news.
What do you think? I mean, a big difference from the way...
people have written stories about this, noting the difference between how Fox and O'Reilly handle this versus Brian Williams and NBC News. To begin with, Brian Williams, fessed up to making a mistake.
Right, number one.
He took himself off. He actually felt chagrined and maybe some shame. And then NBC, while conducting this investigation, of the results of which they have not revealed, suspended Brian. They actually take serious whether their lead, their lead figure said things that were not true. What Fox has done is basically just say, we support Bill O'Reilly straight down the line. They haven't responded to any of the questions raised by the story. They haven't responded to subsequent stories that have come out indicating that he said things that weren't true in his JFK book about being on the steps of someone who was involved in the JFK assassination investigation right as they committed suicide when he was also 1,200 miles away. And so other things have come up, and Fox News, is now saying we're not going to answer any more questions about any of this. And we stand behind Bill O'Reilly 100%. And even when the editors of Mother Jones magazine sent a very polite note to Fox and said, "Hey guys, you can say whatever you like about our reporters, but saying that one of them should be put in the kill zone, one journalist saying that about another journalist, that may go a wee too far. Can you consider renouncing that remark and maybe even apologizing?" And of course, the response from Fox News was, how do you say radio silence without being silent on the radio? Anyway, it was nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't respond, and Bill O'Reilly just ended up telling another reporter at some point, that was just a slang expression.
Yeah. Well, good work, David Corn. I'm telling you and Daniel Schulman as well. Proud of you, and at least you made them squirm, even if you didn't, even if you haven't made them take any action. And we'll follow this. I'm sure we haven't heard the end of it. David Corn. Find him at motherjones.com. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, catch up with you soon. See you, man.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate your children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Tune into Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Here we go at 12 minutes now before the top of the hour, jumping out to Chicago, where things didn't work out in the mayoral election, at least in the first round, the way Mayor Rahm Emanuel wanted them to. Our good friend, Washington bureau chief for the Chicago Sun-Times, is on the scene in Chicago. Lynn Sweet joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Lynn, you staying warm out there?
It's 10 degrees colder in Washington. Excuse me, in Chicago than in Washington, and another big snow here.
And another
what else is new?
Oh, my God. Yeah, well, stay warm as much as you can. Tell us what happened with Tuesday night.
Well, there's a few themes of what happened, and that is that I think Mayor Rahm Emanuel's biggest opponent really was Mayor Rahm Emanuel. I take the election results as, in a sense, a referendum against him, and a big element of his personality and the way he treated people, as much as some policies, and the policies that really sparked the political divide among Democrats, and everyone who ran as a Democrat, and this is a local version, maybe, of some of the divides of the Democratic Party, where you have the Elizabeth Warren wing and the Barack Obama Hillary Clinton wing. Yeah. Because the Cook County board member who came in second, Jesus Chuy Garcia, comes from and had the support of Move On, the public unions, the DFA, and
teachers unions.
Yeah, teachers union.
Yeah.
The head of the teachers union, a dynamo named Karen Lewis, was all set to run against Rahm. And she very sadly had a brain tumor and couldn't run, and she anointed Chuy Garcia as the one who should carry the flag. And this was a five-man race. Now, so if you're looking, why did he lose technically? Probably because he needed more African-American voter turnout in particular wards. That's getting a bit in the weeds. What's interesting is that last week, President Barack Obama came to Chicago to help Rahm.
Mm-hmm.
Video from that event was used in a commercial that was aired heavily in the closing days of the campaign, and it didn't bring Rahm over the finish line. This was a race where, in order to avoid a runoff, he needed to get a majority, not a plurality. He had the plurality one.
Yeah, and I thought it was a surprise. The gap between them, or put it this way, Rahm ended up, he needed, you're right, 50 plus 1. He got 45%, but Chuy Garcia got 34%.
Right.
A lot closer than people thought it would be.
It was closer, and Rahm had millions and millions of dollars at his disposal from his incredible fundraising. Also, a sub-story of this is that these battles also played out in a lot of the ward races for aldermen. Can you believe it? In Chicago, there are 50 aldermen in the city council.
Unbelievable.
Half the number of the Senate.
Yeah, no. So how long for this runoff now? How long a period for the runoff?
It's going to be a 6-week grind for Rahm Emanuel. The runoff is on April 1.
April 1. And now that's down to a two-man race. Is it, and Rahm again will have all the money, so people are handicapping him as the favorite, or is he in trouble?
Well, it's interesting. I think he is in trouble because the issue now for Jesus Garcia won't be name recognition. It's one-on-one.
Right, yeah.
It won't be that you have to have ads just to tell your story. He's going to be covered. I imagine he will also be the victim of a lot of opposition research that will come up. Not that Rahm is immune to it, but I think I could see how these things usually play out. All this to mean that the money advantage that we saw in TV commercials might not be determinative this time. Certainly there'll be money for both candidates to have field organizations, staff offices, all that stuff. The stuff that other candidates in this primary couldn't have done. So I think there's a good chance that if the opposition to Rahm Emanuel unites, he will lose. But I think you'll see him campaign very, very heavily in the African-American community. That's where I would be watching him spend a lot of his time. He won pretty solidly in what we call the lakefront wards of Chicago. White, upper middle class. He has work to do in other places of the city where he's popular to get a higher turnout. That's another way of doing it, Bill. There are places where he would have had the vote if people bothered to vote.
Yeah.
And turnout was low.
So he'll be working on that as well. And do you expect to see President Obama come back again in the next 6 weeks for Rahm Emanuel?
I doubt it. And here's a reason why. We're now within a few weeks. This is under your folder, my folder. All stories are one.
Yeah.
The Barack Obama Foundation is just weeks away of naming a site.
Yes.
They want to have a decision made by the end of March. Election is April 1. So I don't think you'll see the president again. And look he came in for Rahm, and it didn't boost African American turnout in a massive way that he needed. President Barack Obama came in last year to help Illinois Governor Pat Quinn, and turnout in the South Side could have been higher.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think this isn't a case where the president's personal popularity can necessarily get the momentum going.
Make a difference. Got it. Yeah. Well, Lynn, it's good to talk to you again, and it's great that you're there on the scene in Chicago. We just miss you in Washington, so we'll look for you back here soon. Thanks, Lynn.
I'll be back soon. Actually, I'm on a panel today talking about the Obama Library.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Lynn, so much. We'll catch up with you soon. Lynn Sweet from the Chicago Sun-Times. Parting shot coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like a bag?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
you wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yeah, here in our nation's capital, July 4th came early this year. We celebrate Independence Day today. Yep, the recreational use of marijuana already legal in the states of Washington, Colorado, and Alaska. In Oregon as of July 1. But here in the District of Columbia, as of 12:01 a.m. this morning, smoking pot is legal in Washington as long as you're enjoying it in your own home or a friend's home and not smoking it in public or selling it. Of course, a lot of Republicans in Congress aren't happy with it. They're still raising hell. They've even threatened to put the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, in jail if she goes forward with legalization today, but too late for them. There's no turning back the clock. So now it's Colorado, Washington, Alaska, Oregon, and the District of Columbia. Won't be long before you'll be able to smoke pot legally in all 50 states. Can't happen too soon. Hey, folks, have a great day. Look for you again tomorrow. Come back and see us.